Hello and welcome to another exclusive review with me, Alex Belfield, here at celebrityradio.biz, where last year we had over 7.8 million minutes viewed on YouTube. This week we focus on the 2015 UK tour of I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue from BBC Radio 4. This premiere quiz from Radio 4 is back on the road through 2015, following recent tours that have been a huge success. This brilliant panel show is riddled with innuendo, double entendre and non-stop gags, with stars including Tim Taylor, Graeme Garden, Barry Cryer, Jeremy Hardy and host Jack D. This is an evergreen ratings hit. I caught the live tour in Nottingham at the 2,800-seater Royal Concert Hall. I cannot remember the last time I was in a theatre anywhere in the country that was literally sold out. There wasn't a single spare seat available in the house. That is the ultimate tribute to this phenomenal format success. Produced by radio genius John Naismith, this show has heart, fun and isn't scared of pushing boundaries. It's not trying to be cool or modern, it's non-stop wordplay from start to finish, and the entire audience just love it. Outsiders probably wouldn't get it. There's a ton of in-gags and segments that deliberately don't make sense. It laughs in the face of proper quiz shows that take themselves awfully seriously. Never mind the left-footing humorless dopes that claim that the real star of the show, Samantha, is ridiculed and therefore sexist. Rubbish. She gets some of the biggest titters during this entire performance. Jack D is the perfect host, underplaying each line, allowing the audience to decide for themselves. Perfect. What I love most about the show is that it's the antidote to show business, let alone quiz shows. It's just effortless. To fill a huge theatre with 5 mics, 5 comics and a piano is remarkable. I love that they pull it off with such ease. Colin Sell on the piano is the brilliant Fall Guy who brings the musical comic relief throughout. Considering the cast are not exactly teens, the energy throughout was inspiring. Unfortunately, Graeme was ill for my performance, but the brilliant Tony Hawks filled in seamlessly. So, I give 5 stars for the Sorry I Haven't a Clue UK Tour 2015. Don't miss it if you can get a ticket. It's literally sold out. Okay, then here's another chance to enjoy my exclusive interviews with the 2015 cast of Sorry I Haven't a Clue from the radio show and on tour. Interviews with Tim Taylor, Graeme Garden, Barry Cryer, Jeremy Hardy, and host Jack D. from celebrityradio.biz, where last year we had over 7.8 million minutes viewed on YouTube. Check out all our hundreds of interviews and reviews at www.celebrityradio.biz. Ta-da!
Hello and welcome to an exclusive hour-long programme with me, Alex Belfield, talking to the stars of one of my favourite comedies. But it's on the radio, which is the best place to entertain, and here's a man who's been doing it for something like 3,000 years. Barry Cryer, how are you?
3,000, less VAT, yes. No, it's right, it's quite a long time, isn't it? 1956, Alex, my first paid job. What's that? Do the maths, as the Americans say. 53 years, yes.
When I read your CV, I'm in such awe because you've worked with everybody and you've had such a blessed career in a sense that you've been able to work with the greats. But of course, the reason you've been able to work with the greats is because you have a talent to write gags. How do you do that?
Well, I rarely wrote alone. Always with a partner. I was promiscuous. Wrote with a partner. One of them's just lurking about behind me as I speak. Dr. Garden, my old friend and carer.
We should talk to him in a bit.
I think we ought to talk to him in a bit. No, I always wrote in partnership. I think I'm quite a good partner, arrogantly, but on my own, not so much. I'm a sort of line man, and if I'm with somebody who's good at construction and stuff like that, you know, you hope you get the chemistry going. There's a great old writer's joke, which is the writer trying to think of the right word to put in the script, the right word in the right place, and he sits there trying to think of the right word for 2 weeks, and then he thinks, fortnight, that's it.
So what are you saying then? You're not that funny, you're funny to a point, and then somebody makes you funnier?
No, you said that, Alex. I'm fascinated, I'll write that down. No, I'm a practicing catalyst, I think.
And of course we're on the road at the moment with I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue, which is just this thing, this beast that everybody seems to be on the same page with. They're waiting for certain things, and you come on and you seem to steal it so easily with your ad-libs.
Steal it? No, I don't steal it. Shut up, he's behind me, for God's sake. No, it's teamwork. You bounce off each other. It's a joy.
You seem like you enjoy it. I'm sure being on the road isn't as exciting as actually doing the show.
Well, it's enjoyable in a different way. The radio show's good because you're doing a fresh show each and every time, but that can be edited and you can stop and start. And this is the real live thing, but they're in front of you doing it, which is the root of our business anyway. which is good. You know, no editing, no canned laughter. They're there. They'll tell you.
What is it like being the guy in the UK when anybody needs a quote about another comedian, they come to you?
Being old. The upside of being old. If you're a survivor, I've lost quite a few friends through the years. I suppose there's a lot of my contemporaries still around, writers. But because I perform as well, I suppose people know me a bit better than them. But there's a lot of good writers about. The sad thing about the business is that at a certain age, the young producers either have never heard of them or think, oh no, they can't cut it anymore. You know, as if they stop being funny at some point. No, it's not good.
What do you need? Do you need a great line or do you need a great comedian? Because one can't really work without the other, can it?
No, you need both, hopefully. I mean, if you wrote something that you knew Eric and Ernie were going to do, and they accepted it, you knew it was going to be done immaculately and brilliantly, you know. And people often say to me and others, isn't it frustrating being a writer? I said, no, I couldn't be then. 100 years, you know. I was the backroom boy. That's what you did. That was your job.
I don't want to be too morose, but you're good at eulogies and saying nice things about people when they've passed. What do you want them to say about you?
He hasn't gone, has he?
That would be the best thing, wouldn't it?
Oh, yes.
Of all the people you've worked with, and I know I've asked you this question before, and forgive me.
Not single out one, what?
No, but who was the most joyous to write for? Who delivered your material the best?
Oh, there wasn't just one. One of the happiest periods was writing shows for Kenny Everett, who wasn't a comedian, he was Kenny Everett. And he was up for anything. A good comedian can read a script, and then he or she will say, oh, that's funny, but it's not me, because they have a obviously preconceived idea of what they do. Everett was up for anything. And I wrote those shows with, sadly, the late Ray Cameron, who was the father of Mike McIntyre, who's doing quite well now.
What do you think is his big success? I notice he's doing 5 nights here at an arena, which is 9,000 seats. There's nobody doing that kind of business, and he seems to have come from nowhere.
Well, nobody comes from nowhere, but he has had an enormously swift rise. It's 2 or 3 years it's all happened in.
There's a punchline in there somewhere, isn't there?
Somewhere in there, yes. We'll forage about and find it later.
Give it an hour or two till the show. Do you get nervous before a show now? Are you excited? How do you feel?
I don't call it nerves anymore. I call it creative apprehension. It's a pleasant feeling. It's like adrenaline. It's like a runner waiting for the gun. Come on, let's do it. No, it's not unpleasant at all. If you don't feel anything, you shouldn't be doing it.
And of course, you've got this new book out now. Tell us about that.
The book is called Butterfly Brain. And it sounds like nepotism, but we went through various adventures. I said, I haven't got another book in me. I've done a couple to the publisher. And he said, I'll get you a ghost to work with. And it worked out that the finest ghost was our youngest son, Bob, who's done audiobooks and things. And, of course, working with your own son is very strange and interesting. He said an interesting thing to me, Alex, at one point. He said, Dad, you've been a ghost for years. Writing for comics.
Congratulations on being you. It's such an honour to meet you finally. We've been talking for years and years, but never face-to-face. How is it finally meeting me?
It's just better than I ever expected, Alex. I'm just overwhelmed.
Congratulations on everything. The new book's in your stores now. And good luck with the show tonight. I'm sorry I haven't a clue. We're here today doing an exclusive hour-long programme. We're going to talk to all the team. We're going to talk to Jack D at the end. And coming up next, we're going to talk to Graeme Garden, who's lurking.
He's lurking.
Welcome back to Sorry I Haven't a Clue, which is the big quiz that everybody loves on Radio 4, and it's got several big stars, and of course the biggest of them all is Graeme Garden. I'm going to say that to everybody, by the way.
I thought you probably would, yes. Well, call them all Graeme Garden.
Well, that's right, which would be a bit embarrassing. I'll tell you what I like about you on this quiz. You're odd and different and peculiar, and you've got funny, haven't you?
You mean over the years I've got funny, or I've got funny somewhere lurking about my person? Yeah, probably I have.
Do you enjoy it? I mean, you always seem to be the one that comes across with great warmth, and not every comedian does, like Jack D, we're going to talk about later.
Well, no, Jack's a very warm, cuddly guy, really. I don't know if I come across with warmth, it's because I'm probably smiling a lot of the time when we do the show, and as they say, a smile is the only bit of body language you can hear. So I have a great time, and I'm smiling because I'm enjoying what everyone else is doing. The great thing about the show is when we do it on the radio, of course, it's a different show every time, and we do try not to let on to each other what we're going to be doing. So we try to surprise and entertain each other as much as anything. Doing it on the road is different. We've got a sort of fairly set formula for the show, although it does differ from night to night, and that's what the fun of it is, developing things that sort of grow as we go along, or drop out as we try 8 times to make it work and it doesn't.
As far as I can see, this is more or less all your fault, this show, because you've really been here from the beginning, haven't you?
It was kind of my fault. Well, it was certainly blamed on me after the first pilot we did, because what we did was, Bill Oddie and I used to be writing I'm Sorry, I'll Read That Again on the radio, which was a sketch show with John Cleese and Tim and Bill Oddie and me and David Hatch and Joe Kendall. And Bill and I didn't have time to write another series. We started working in television, and I'd been on a couple of panel games, and I thought, oh, this is good. You just get a few people and invent a game, and they write their own script, and they come along and be funny. So I thought up some really stupid games, and I thought we could get the cast of I'm Sorry, I'll Read That Again together and make this comedy panel show, which we did. And none of us had quite knew what to expect, or we hadn't really prepared for it. Well, you can't. A lot of it was ad-libbed. And it was a horrible experience, apart from the fact that David Hatch, who produced it, and I had both independently come up with the idea of Humphrey Littleton in the chair. And he was great, but we all hated doing the pilot, and they all gave me a very hard time afterwards, and we all said never again. But the BBC commissioned a series, and so we were lumbered. And the first 2 or 3 years were pretty harrowing, and I think at the end of every series we said never again, and we still do.
What I love about the show is it's so simple and it's so silly, and you don't take yourself seriously, and you're not wrapped up in political nonsense. It really is just about having fun, isn't it?
It is. It's the sound of time wasting, is how I described it once. That's all it is. It's people play games like Monopoly or poker or whist or bridge or whatever it is, and it's just filling time. And it's quite exciting to do and quite fun to do. And so that's what I hope this game is like, and what this show is like. It's certainly fun for us, and we've got a terrifically warm, supportive sort of audience who follow us now, and that's wonderful. The audiences come to see the show, and they're determined to have a good time, whatever we do.
And they are almost in on the gag. I mean, you mentioned Lionel Blair, and he gets a cheer before you've even done your terrible lines about him. Where did these characters come from that you pick on?
Mostly they come from Ian Pattinson, who writes the links and has for about 20 years nearly. He wrote all of Hump's material. He goes on writing material for the show now, and he would just get a bee in his bonnet now and again about a character, and who would go on every week about Lionel Blair or Mrs. Trellis or Samantha, all fictional characters, I hasten to add. But that's where it came from, and the audience are very much on the joke. Certain rounds are announced and get a round of applause, or when we're playing Mornington Crescent, somebody will make a move and say maybe Piccadilly Circus, and the audience will go, ooh, and there'll be this sort of murmur and rustle and disapproval in the audience, or a big round of applause, like a cricket match.
This set of interviews today for me have been really simple, because I just asked you all the same questions, and I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Barry. What have you enjoyed doing the most, and who have you enjoyed working with the most? Because you've had such a fascinating career. Lots of things were great fun to do. The Goodies was obviously terrific for those 10 years that we did them. I suppose that the most sort of ongoing fun has been Clue, because that's 37 years or whatever it is, and it's been a delight to work with this very nice bunch of people, and it's been a platform for us to get to know and meet and work with some of the younger people who are coming along and coming up, who otherwise we probably wouldn't necessarily appear on the same platform with. So that's been, I think that's been the most enduring fun. But everything, do a bit in Miss Marple or something, and that's fun. Then you do a bit in Holby City, and that's good fun. Tim and I are off back to Australia. We had fun there a couple of times, doing a tour of a sort of goodies show, showing clips and chatting. So we're going back to chat some more, not just about goodies, but I hope about Clue, because now that the Clue DVD is out, we can show some clips to the Australians, if they can see it through the dust. Well, we'll talk to Tim next and find out if he's looking forward to it. We'll also talk to Jeremy Hardy, and we've got Jack D on the way. We're here today celebrating the stars of Sorry I Haven't a Clue, which is one of the greatest radio quizzes ever. We'll play a piece of music, and then we'll play something from the new CD. Graeme, thanks so much for talking to me.
It's been my pleasure, Alex.
Welcome back to The Big Show. We're at I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue today, talking to the big stars, and we've got Tim Brooke-Taylor and Jeremy Hardy, the two people that always make everybody laugh, and that's nice because there's a lot of people in the world, and you two have been picked to be part of this quiz. You must be thrilled.
Well, Tim was picked about 85 years ago, so the novelty's probably worn off for him.
The question I haven't asked yet is about Humph and when this whole thing changed this year. Did you worry that it should be brought back, and when it was brought back, did you feel it was okay?
Well, we talked about this for a long time before, and Willie Rushton and I talked about it, and we said if Humph goes, or and actually, of course, sadly Willie went first, and the thing we said is if we still wanted to do it, we'd do it. But when Humph died, we all felt, well, I'm not sure, but at the same time, we knew he wanted it to go on, but we thought we'd leave it for a bit because, well, apart from anything else, he was missing very much in our lives, and he was very much part of the show. Now, what we weren't quite sure is whether people would accept it without the great Humph, and happily they have. And it was interesting that a lot of the journalists were saying, no, you shouldn't bring it back. And then after 6 months, they're saying, actually, I think you should bring it back. So that helped.
And for you, Jeremy, when you were invited to be part of the programme, I know it was a long while ago now, in the 90s, how did you feel when you were sat around these legends, and of course Humph's there, and then he's this side, and Barry's the other side? Is there any intimidation, or were you just happy to be there?
It was really odd, because it was a programme that I'd listened to as a child, so it was stepping into something, it was just nice to be present, really. I didn't really, whether I said what I said didn't really matter to me. It was just nice to be sort of on the, involved and just in the room, really.
Have you mastered the key to what makes a great quiz? Because what I've noticed is something like Mock the Week to me can be uncomfortable at times. I'll talk to you about this because you've been on it. Because it becomes competitive. You can't really have too much of that, especially with a radio quiz.
Well, I think the whole point of Clue, as far as I'm concerned, is we're all trying to keep the balls in the air. We're not trying to knock them out of each other's hands. And it is true. You work with people and you actually can help get the joke towards them. But as you say, with Mock the Week, there's some very good people on it, but you do seem to think, calm down, lads, calm down, just be funny, interrelate with each other, and I would laugh even more. But I know that's true with Clue. It's very important. When the producers asked me who I'd like to have on the show, I've always said people that I know are team people that actually want to share the fun.
Does somebody whisper in your ear kind of how to do this when you start on the programme, or do you just have to kind of fit in?
I can't remember. I suppose it's about 15 years ago that I saw, maybe less, but I'm not about that. No, you just have to kind of fit in. I mean, but because because you've heard it for so many years, you kind of are very cautious anyway. It's not like starting on a new thing, which might turn into a vehicle for you. It's a question of very carefully joining a work in progress without messing it up. So that's your priority, is more not to sort of mess up what's already established than to sort of show off, really.
You can also bring extra things to it, like Jeremy brings a fine singing voice, which is very important to the programme. I'm sorry, I don't know why you're laughing, Jeremy.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
I'd never really thought about my singing voice because I've never actually sung in public until I had to do. The first time I sang was, Willie was on, and I sat down and Willie said, "I smell points." And and now occasionally I sing in tune and everyone gets very upset, but I can't really tell if I'm in tune or not, and it's statistically it's inevitable. If the number of times that I sing from time to time, it's like a broken clock. It's right twice a day.
Would it be fair to say you're no Andrea Bocelli?
If I knew what you meant, yes.
Rather delicious pasta, I think you'll find us. Yes, you could enjoy it.
I'm an al dente Bocelli.
And as for the show itself, when you're there in front of the audience, do we hear an edited version, or is it as it is?
It is edited, yes, because we can take more risks that way. We can actually do sometimes they turn out very well, but they think, oh, this won't work. Well, let's try it. And the audience will latch onto it, so it's worth it. It's always important to have it edited because that allows us to take more risks.
All right, we're going to take a piece of music and we'll be back with the two big stars. We're also going to talk to Jack D as well. Back with Tim and Jeremy next. We're back with our remaining moments with the stars of I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue, which is touring the country and it'll be back on Radio 4 forever, really, because it has no sign of going away. And that's not easy, is it, to find a quiz that works forever? Some of them seem to come and go.
Yes, I mean, it's been plundered shamelessly by other shows and it's influenced a lot of other shows. Whole rounds of Clue rounds appear on TV programmes that we won't mention, like Mock the Week. But I think that the charm of it, which is what Tim was pointing out, is it's like four kids building a snowman together, whereas other shows are populated by the sort of kid who wants to come up and knock the head off somebody else's snowman. And we're just very patiently, calmly trying to, and all the jokes are shared, and nobody cares who said what when or something, so I think it's the affection for each other and for the show that listeners have that keeps it going. Because, as I say, I mean, everything that we do has been nicked by other people pretty much, apart from Mornington Crescent. So I think it's affection for the people involved.
Is plagiarism a compliment, or is it hugely frustrating?
It's a compliment, but at the same time, if they could just send the money to me, it would be very helpful.
Tim, you've been very lucky because in your career you've worked with such legends, and of course the Footlights played a major part in the beginnings. Were those days as exciting and wonderful as we hear now in all these many documentaries that are made about it?
I would put it another way and say those people have been very lucky working with me, but no, I have been very lucky. You're quite right from the beginning, and that's my point of teamwork, that I've been grateful for working with people right from the beginning, and I know I wouldn't have had the confidence on my own to go on my own. I admire people like Jeremy who can do stand-up on their own. I can do it for a little bit, but suddenly I think I'm standing about 12 feet above me saying, you are rubbish. And that's not a good thing. But when you're with somebody else, you can throw things and they'll laugh and they'll throw it back. So, yes, I've been lucky, and so have they.
That would seem to be my observation about you in this show, that you don't try and steal it and do that stand-up thing where you try and take the limelight. That's not easy for someone with a huge ego, is it?
No, but I haven't got a huge ego.
Not huge.
But to be a stand-up comedian, you've got to have a bit of one, or you wouldn't want the spotlight on, would you?
I think you've got to have a bit of one to start with, and then you have a mortgage, and so you keep going to pay that. I mean, I've realised now how irritating new comedians. I mean, I was probably exactly the same, but when you see new comedians, they're so desperate and hungry and ambitious, and you just want to trip them up, really.
Does it bother you as well, the money in comedy now? I mean, you look at this show and it's coming on tour and everybody's buying the tickets, totally sold out across the UK. But there's comedians who 2 years ago we hadn't heard of doing arenas and selling out endless nights. The business of comedy has changed, hasn't it?
I'm all for them selling out. What I do regret is during the 70s when we were doing the goodies and things, that we could have done some great goodies tours and some visual events and O2 Arena for a year, no problems. So I do regret missing that, because I think that would have been fun. But I don't begrudge other people money. Well, yes, I do.
How do you feel about it?
Well, to be honest, I mean, there's lots of people that I like that I wouldn't actually want to go and see in an arena. I mean, I went to see Prince at the O2, which was a spectacular show, but even that, the after party was better because he did it in a smaller club that was about 300 seats, and that was great. So, I mean, why go and see something and end up watching a big TV screen along the side of the stage? You know, I mean, I'd like to be able to sell the O2 Arena, but I don't think I'd enjoy it if I could, because I like to see my audience and I like to feel in the same space as my audience. I mean, with this, there's a lot of us on stage, so it doesn't feel so empty. And we're in some pretty big venues. I mean, venues that I certainly couldn't sell on my own. But I've never enjoyed being in a huge venue, you know, just standing in the middle of the stage, because I don't do very much. I think somebody like Lee Evans, who runs around and, you know, he sort of fills the space and it seems appropriate. But for a solo stand-up, I don't think you can beat an intimate venue, really.
Well, congratulations on the show and your success and both of your careers. You've really mastered the art of what you do, and I'm so looking forward to the show tonight. And we're going to play more clips from I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue in a moment from now, but for the moment, Tim and also Jeremy, thank you for talking to me.
Pleasure.
Pleasure. Happy Christmas.
Welcome back. We're back with our remaining moments here on The Big Show and talking to the stars of I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue, and the new face of the quiz and the new big star is Jack D. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Yes. I'm chairing all the shows on this tour, so but I've not taken over as the full-time chair for the radio show, which I think they've decided they're going to have regular guest chairs on that.
Are you enjoying it? Is it nice to be with all these people who've been doing it such a long time?
It's fun. It's part of a kind of old tradition now in radio, and it's rather nice to have part of that history now. And I do like the show. I always used to listen to it as a kid. So there's Barry making faces at me in the background. You really wouldn't think that he wasn't 12 years old. But it is. It's good. It's part comedy, part old people's home.
I think you're very lucky, in a sense, to be here, because there's a million people they could choose from, and they decided on you. When the call came in, how did you feel?
Well, very flattered. It's a nice show to do, and I get on very well with them all. So I was pleased that it was reciprocated. So it's nice, and I'm enjoying the tour. It's great fun to go around from town to town and do all the different stuff pertaining to the town that you're in, which is great.
Seems like as well you've had a good career and you've worked it very well in a sense that we all love a character comedian, and although you are Jack D, you're not dressing for someone else. You're great at this persona of Mr. Angry, which has made you famous. I noticed that slipping a bit recently. I've seen you smiling on TV, being nice on TV. People are actually warming to you.
Yes, it's a worrying sign. I have to do something about it, but I've allowed a little bit of mirth into my life, and it probably isn't the right thing. It's a bad career move. Yes.
I suppose we'd ought to do some business for you. We got this new book out, Thanks for Nothing. It's not a very nice title when I'm spending $12.99 on your product, is it?
It's not. No, it's a sort of memoir of the first 25 years of my life. It's the story of how I got into comedy, effectively. And as I say, it's called Thanks for Nothing, and it's dedicated to me, without whom none of this would have been possible. So that's very much the tone of the book all the way through.
I loved your jobs. Tell me about some of the jobs you had, because they were interesting and different, and so not Jack D.
Yeah, I mean, I had I didn't do very well at school, so I just had to get on with making a living, and so I did hundreds of things. But I had, even from weekend jobs from the age of 14, 15, I did all kinds of work. I worked at the Wimpy in Winchester once. I got sacked after about 2 days or something because I couldn't keep up with the orders. I was a short order cooker then, and I was okay with a fried egg and a sausage, and then someone would go and order an Olympic breakfast, and then other orders would come in, and I'd get snowed under, and the guy just sacked me. And I said, "Why? What have I done?" He said, "Well, you tell me. What have you done?" "Nothing." Since you got here, nothing. Get out. That was the only time really I was sacked ever. So, but after that, I worked in supermarkets, and I worked at a factory where they made artificial legs, something I write about in the book. And I've done all kinds of jobs as a courier, motorbike courier. I write about that in the book. And another one is I used to deliver incontinence pants around southwest London in a van for the NHS.
I can imagine at least 10 minutes of gags if you were to bring that up in this show.
It's what I really enjoyed about doing the book is I had the chance to write it in the mode of a book as well, rather than actually kind of have to make it into sort of throwaway jokes. You had to go a little bit deeper to make it a good read, because otherwise the rhythm of jokes aren't necessarily very good, and also jokes of that type don't work so well on the paper. You have to find another way of getting your laugh from the paper. So I enjoyed the process of discovering how to do that.
And of course, you're the type of comedian, you don't see the funny side of life, you see the other side, which is the depressing, negative side, and then you make that funny. It's not easy, that, because it could just be depressing and boring.
I think what's always appealed to me about comedically is the ordinary stuff in life. I think I've always found it very, very interesting, and I always maintain that the humans are extraordinary because you climb mountains and then stumble on the gravel, and it's that tendency that I find very interesting, that someone literally can have deal with an enormous trauma in their life, some life-changing trauma in their life, deal with it incredibly calmly, and then flip the lid when they get a parking ticket, and so we kind of we put too much importance on the small things, but it's in a way quite a healthy way, because it helps you cope with the big stuff. But nevertheless, I find it quite funny.
This thing about the ladies and you, they think you're delicious and gorgeous. What's it like being a sex symbol?
Well, that's the second time someone has said this to me recently, so maybe there's something going on. Someone has said something, but I really don't monitor my profile at all on the internet or magazines, and I've never Googled my name, for instance, and I've never, when I do a lot of press interviews and stuff, I make a point of not reading them afterwards, because I don't think they're not written for me anyway. So basically for me, don't read it, measure it. And so therefore I don't want to take on board all that stuff that other people might be saying, but that I would take it as a positive thing, and that's helpful. However, I'm married, and so
it's pointless.
Yeah, pointless.
And being back on the road, I mean, you started doing this. This is how you began, and then you went into TV, and of course later an actor. Is it nice being in these glamorous surroundings again?
Yeah, it'd be nicer if I wasn't surrounded by a load of geriatrics.
Are we talking about the audience or the cast? This is insulting on many levels.
Mostly the cast. And the audience are quite sprightly by comparison, Yeah.
Are you finding you're having to speak much more slowly? What is the deal with this tour?
We don't have to speak. No, I don't have to speak more slowly, but I would say that at least one member of the cast is fairly thoroughly wired up with hearing aids and so on and so forth. He has the kind of speakers in his ears that your average 17-year-old would be extremely pleased to have. I think he has the whole thing wired through his brain at some incredible volume, so he can hear. Bless him.
Is it fun being you now? Because you're able to do all the three things it appears that you really like, which is being you, miserable, being really funny as a comedian, and then being an actor. You've got kind of the three things now.
Yeah, it's never fun being me. I can't ever seem to lighten up.
What's going on? I mean, we get a touch of your negativity in the book, but where does it really stem from?
I suppose it's kind of a type of realism, really, and you can't escape from the dark stuff in life, the difficult stuff in life, and I think for me, my way of dealing with that is to absorb it into my life, so that it's no longer worrying for me.
I feel like I've been a burden to your day. I feel like this hasn't gone so well. I've just kind of slowed you down and asked you pointless questions. Is this okay? I mean, how would you rate it?
You're right to feel like that. You've been a real pain, and no one even warned me you got ginger hair.
I'd better let you go, really. Jack D, thank you for talking to me. Do you want another plug for this book? Are you going to say something nice, or do we leave it there?
It's called Thanks for Nothing. It's available at all good bookshops and garages around the country.
All right, Jack D, thank you very much. I know she got a sneaky plug in there. That's not fair.
By radio genius John Naismith, this show has heart, fun and isn't scared of pushing boundaries. It's not trying to be cool or modern, it's non-stop wordplay from start to finish, and the entire audience just love it. Outsiders probably wouldn't get it. There's a ton of in-gags and segments that deliberately don't make sense. It laughs in the face of proper quiz shows that take themselves awfully seriously. Never mind the left-footing humorless dopes that claim that the real star of the show, Samantha, is ridiculed and therefore sexist. Rubbish. She gets some of the biggest titters during this entire performance. Jack D is the perfect host, underplaying each line, allowing the audience to decide for themselves. Perfect. What I love most about the show is that it's the antidote to show business, let alone quiz shows. It's just effortless. To fill a huge theatre with 5 mics, 5 comics and a piano...
Exclusive hour-long programme with me, Alex Belfield, talking to the stars of one of my favourite comedies. But it's on the radio, which is the best place to entertain. And here's a man who's been doing it for something like 3,000 years. Barry Cryer, how are you?
3,000, less VAT, yes. No, it's right. It's quite a long time, isn't it? 1956, Alex, my first paid job. What's that? Do the maths, as the Americans say. 53 years, yes.
When I read your CV, I'm in such awe because you've worked with everybody and you've had such a blessed career in a sense that you've been able to work with the greats. But of course, the reason you've been able to work with the greats is because you have a talent to write gags. How do you do that?
Well, I rarely wrote alone. Always with a partner. I was promiscuous. Wrote with a partner. One of them's just lurking about behind me as I speak. Dr. Garden, my old friend and carer.
We should talk to him in a bit.
I think we ought to talk to him in a bit. No, I always wrote in partnership. I think I'm quite a good partner, arrogantly, but on my own, not so much. I'm a sort of line man, and if I'm with somebody who's good at construction and stuff like that, you hope you get the chemistry going. There's a great old writer's joke, which is the writer trying to think of the right word to put in the script, the right word in the right place, and he sits there trying to think of the right word for 2 weeks, and then he thinks, fortnight, that's it.
So what are you saying then? You're not that funny, you're funny to a point, and then somebody makes you funnier?
No, you said that, Alex. I'm fascinated, I'll write that down. No, I'm a practicing catalyst, I think.
And of course we're on the road at the moment with I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue, which is just this thing, this beast that everybody seems to be on the same page with. They're waiting for certain things, and you
is remarkable. I love that they pull it off with such ease. Colin Sell on the piano is the brilliant Fall Guy who brings the musical comic relief throughout. Considering the cast are not exactly teens, the energy throughout was inspiring. Unfortunately, Graeme was ill for my performance, but the brilliant Tony Hawks filled in seamlessly. So I give 5 stars for the Sorry I Haven't a Clue UK Tour 2015. Don't miss it if you can get a ticket. It's literally sold out. Okay, then here's another chance to enjoy my exclusive interviews with the 2015 cast of Sorry I Haven't a Clue from the radio show and on tour. Interviews with Tim Brooke-Taylor, Graeme Garden, Barry Cryer, Jeremy Hardy, and host Jack D from celebrityradio.biz, where last year we had over 7.8 million minutes viewed on YouTube. Check out all our hundreds of interviews and reviews at www.celebrityradio.biz. Ta-da!
Hello and welcome to
another exclusive review with me, Alex Belfield, here at celebrityradio.biz, where last year we had over 7.8 million minutes viewed on YouTube. This week we focus on the 2015 UK tour of I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue from BBC Radio 4. This premiere quiz from Radio 4 is back on the road through 2015, following recent tours that have been a huge success. This brilliant panel show is riddled with innuendo, double entendre and non-stop gags, with stars including Tim Brooke-Taylor, Graeme Garden, Barry Cryer, Jeremy Hardy and host Jack D. This is an evergreen ratings hit. I caught the live tour in Nottingham at the 2,800-seater Royal Concert Hall. I cannot remember the last time I was in a theatre anywhere in the country that was literally sold out. There wasn't a single spare seat available in the house. That is the ultimate tribute to this phenomenal format success. Produced